So Seth Mitchell gains revenge over Jonathan Banks with a unanimous 12-round decision victory. But a lot of people think this fight was fixed. And they think it was fixed because there was several occasions in this fight, at least 2 or 3 occasions, where Banks had Mitchell out on his feet, but he failed to finish him. And for the remainder of the fight, Banks wasn't pressing the action. He was on the back foot, he wasn't throwing any punches, and he was allowing Mitchell to steal the rounds just with his jab and work rate. So for those reasons, and also for the fact that, you know, Mitchell is a Golden Boy / Al Heyman fighter. So for those reasons, they believe that this fight was fixed. Now, it's possible that it was fixed. I can see why they believe it. But me personally, I'm not so sure it was a fixed fight. And the reason I say that is because if you've watched Jonathan Banks over the years, if you've watched him on all the Klitschko undercards, then you will know that this is how Jonathan Banks always fights. Right? He always fails to let his hands go. He's always boring. This is how Jonathan Banks fights. Right? It's nothing new here. And even if you go and watch the first round of the first fight between Banks and Mitchell, you'll see Banks was doing the same thing in the first round of that fight. He was moving around doing nothing. And he was doing the same thing in the second round as well. Right? Mitchell was dictating the fight from long range with his superior reach and his better jab. And it's not until Mitchell got wild in the second round of the first fight that Banks was able to open up and land his counters, which effectively finished the fight. And it was a similar situation in this fight, all right? Mitchell was a lot more cautious this time around. He realized from the first fight that he could dictate things from long range. He's got a longer jab. He's got a longer reach and a better jab, physically stronger. And he realized he could dictate things from long range from the work that he did in the first fight. So that's what he carried through to this fight. He boxed at long range. He tried not to get involved for the most part. And he won the round simply by out-jabbing Jonathan Banks. All right, Banks didn't do nothing in response. And, I don't know why everyone's that surprised by that. This is how Jonathan Banks fights. This is how he fights. Like I say, I can understand people saying it was fixed, but if you look at Jonathan Banks' history, if you look at the way he's fought in previous fights, I wouldn't be so sure to call this fight a fix. I think it was just probably a case of Jonathan Banks being Jonathan Banks. All right. Mitchell, he did what he had to do. He was hurt a couple times in there, but he managed to overcome his demons, and he finished the fight, fairly strong, I guess you could say. He showed, a decent jab in there, dictated the fight from long range. And later on in the fight, when he gained a little bit more confidence, he was able to push Jonathan Banks to the ropes and smother Banks' work. Right, he was right up on top of Banks, and he took away his leverage. Banks just couldn't get anything off. All his work, all his punches was being smothered by what Mitchell was doing. So Mitchell made a few technical adjustments in there from the first fight, some technical improvements. He still seems very chinny, right? Let's be real. He still seems, like I said, there was a couple of occasions in there where Banks did catch him clean and Mitchell's legs was all over the place and it took him like a round or so to get over it. So, a lot of the time when a guy is getting in there with someone who knocked them out previously, they can be very susceptible to getting hurt in a fight, all right? Especially if they get hit clean early on in a fight, they can be very susceptible to getting hurt because there's something in their brain, there's something in their subconscious that has deja vu back to the last time they got knocked out. So they can be more vulnerable to hard punches in a rematch with someone who knocked them out than they would be against a fresh opponent quite a lot of the time. But that remains to be seen if that's the case with Mitchell. We'll have to see if his chin holds up better against other opponents. But here against Jonathan Banks, his chin seemed, pretty terrible, just like it did in the first fight. But yeah, man, Mitchell did what he had to do. Hats off to him because at the end of the day, I don't think he's a very good heavyweight. I don't really think he's got much of a future in the heavyweight division. But, as a man, he went in there and he did the brave thing. He conquered his fears. And, hats off to him, man. How many people are actually going to go in there and do this sport for a living? We can sit here talking shit about it all day long. But at the end of the day, very few of us are professional fighters. You get what I'm saying? So, I don't really think Mitchell's got much of a future in the heavyweight division. But I take my hat off to him for getting back in the ring with a guy who knocked him out and, doing what he had to do. So, yeah, man, that's my thoughts on this fight. Let me know what you lot think. Do you think it was a fix, or do you think this fight was legit? Make sure you check out my post-fight video for Adrian Broner versus Paulie Malignaggi. Do you think that fight was a robbery, or do you think that Broner won fair and square? Leave your comments in the comment section below for this video, and go check out my other video as well. Also, go check out my boxing video playlist, because obviously I do a lot of other videos on here, not just boxing. So make sure you go check out my boxing video playlist. That will just have all my boxing videos on it, nothing else. Bookmark the playlist page, so you can just go to my playlist page anytime you want to check up on my latest boxing videos, yeah? So leave your comments in the comment section below. This is Hatman, I'm out.